This is the Olympiastadion in Berlin. It's not exactly a subtle design, is it? It looks like Nazi architecture, to be honest, and that's what it is. It was built for the 1936 Olympics under the Nazis. 70 years later, it hosted the World Cup final in 2006. That's what this is all about, 1936 to 2006. But modern Berlin has a very specific reputation. It's international, it's cosmopolitan, it's creative. It's a great place to be. I spent 2 months here myself back in 2016, living with friends, having a lovely time. But also it's a place that's seen, huge atrocities in the very recent past, and it's not somewhere that hides away from it. Right in the city, next to the Brandenburg Gate and the Reichstag where the Parliament sits, is a Holocaust memorial. It's everywhere here. It doesn't shy away from it. It's very part of the modern German psyche. Berlin marked things, it explained things. I'm Joey D'Urso. I'm a football and politics journalist. I wrote the book More Than a Shirt about how football shirts explain the world. I'm obsessed with where football and politics collide, and you can't find many more clear examples than this stadium. That's the bear, that's the city of Berlin. And that's Euro 2024, which was held here. Sadly, England lost against Spain in the final. All right, have a look at this. It's pretty cool because there's pretty much no one else here. Yeah, I'm not here to give you a stadium tour or tell you the best seats or the best food or anything like that. I want to talk about the history of this place. The pitch where Italy lifted the World Cup in 2006, the pitch where Zidane did his famous headbutt. You can see behind me there are some UV lights, which is making sure the grass grows properly throughout the winter. Football stadiums are built for all sorts of reasons, right? And architects have different motives. Some of them are built for kind of noise and chaos, but this one, it's built for sort of order. It's all very stone, it's all very grand. It was built by the Nazis for Nazi reasons. This place is kind of meant to overwhelm you, meant to make you feel small, especially when you're pretty much the only person here, as I am right now. So 1936, that year, Hitler in charge 3 years before the start of the Second World War, complete sort of Nazi totalitarian control over Germany, extreme persecution of minorities has already begun. And the Nazi regime tried to use the Olympics here as a sort of global showcase of showcasing their dreadful ideology to the world. So here in 1936, sport is kind of the cover story, but the real image is sort of strength, power, modernity. And you see that in this architecture, this sort of really imposing stone is not something you see a lot of in modern Germany. It seems and feels Nazi because it quite literally is. So this place was built to hold a spectacle, to make Nazi Germany feel sort of inevitable. A guy called Jesse Owens came along and kind of ruined a lot of that for Hitler. He was a black American man, of course, a time when black Americans had limited civil rights in the US, but he did incredibly well. As you can see here on the sign, you can see the medals he won. And Hitler hated that. But that's a good reminder that the joy of sport is that it's unpredictable, right? You can build the stage, you can spend a decade preparing, but ultimately what happens on the pitch or the running track is kind of out of the control of political leaders. We'd certainly hope so. That's kind of why I think in the age of information overload, sport is so valuable. I think particularly compared to TV or box sets or anything that is scripted. Sport is unscripted, and what happened here with Jesse Owens in 1936 is the kind of ultimate in sport as unscripted drama. And just outside the stadium you have Jesse Owens Alley, Jesse Owens Street. Because Hitler's Olympics here on that running track behind me were meant to be about Aryan supremacy, about the supremacy of the white race and how they would sort of win everything and were fitter and stronger than people from other countries. Right on that running track behind me, and Hitler would have been in the box just to the side. But Jesse Owens came along and kind of ruined that. And right here you've got the Olympic flame, of course not lit today, but would have been so in the presence of Hitler and Jesse Owens and all those athletes 90 years ago. So why not knock it down and rebuild it? Well, I think the blunt answer is it's incredibly expensive to knock down a stadium, even more expensive to build one. Berlin has built itself from the rubble several times. In 1945, the whole city was completely destroyed and then went through communism, reunification, all sorts of things. It's not a wealthy city, even though it's a very sort of fashionable one. So a sort of £1 billion stadium, not top of the list. Stadiums are massive infrastructure projects, and once they're built, they have a sort of momentum of their own. You can kind of renovate them and rebrand them, and you can definitely try to change what they mean, and that's been done to spectacular effect here in Berlin. We think of 2006, we think of Italy winning the World Cup alongside Hitler in 36. But knocking them down and rebuilding them again, unless it's necessary, that's really rare. So what happens is, even when a stadium is a bit kind of problematic, it survives because someone has to justify the cost and keep it useful. And I think that's what's just so interesting about stadiums compared to other types of buildings. Because they're so huge, they stick around and they give us a window into current politics and into history as well. In a weird way, this reminds me of West Ham's London Stadium, which was built for the 2012 Olympics and repurposed for football. Everyone knows, frankly, it's terrible for football. It's way too big. There's massive gaps between the stand and the pitch. I mean, this place has a running track, which really isn't ideal for creating a good football atmosphere, but it just costs so much to build a stadium like that. They haven't got the money to build a new one just to make the atmosphere better. And that's, what's interesting about stadiums. They can kind of outlive good ideas, they can outlive bad ideas, they can outlive regimes. I wanted to get right down the pitch again for this bit because that goal behind me, there is no goal there right now, but you get my drift. I was aware on the 9th of July 2006, Fabio Grosso, the Italian, hit a penalty, top right-hand corner, past the French goalkeeper, Fabien Barthez, and Italy won the World Cup. But yeah, unfortunately that final wasn't the most thrilling in football terms. It's actually more remembered for Zinedine Zidane. Final game of his career, an incredible career. He did, of course, headbutt the Italian defender, Marco Materazzi. And yeah, football, sport in general, throws up these chaotic, unpredictable moments, right? Apparently Zidane said something horrible about Materazzi's sister. No one will ever know the details of that. But yeah, he headbutted him in the chest, got sent off, walked past the World Cup trophy. Football does that, right? It turns these amazing buildings into stages of emotion. And I suppose it's an unscripted drama in a very different sense, but to Jesse Owens winning those gold medals in 1936, I suppose that's made me think that this stadium was built for control, built for discipline, and what Zidane did was the exact opposite of that. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this place does feel kind of weird because incredibly Nazi architecture in a city that has moved on in such an impressive way. On the one level, it's just a football stadium, right? Hertha Berlin play here. There's also Union Berlin on the other side of the city. It's a bit of an odd place for Hertha to play because it's so massive, and I think they quite often don't manage to fill it. But there's also, the national team play here. There's big finals like the DFB Pokal, the German Cup final. You get lots of big concerts here. It's like Germany's national stadium, basically. And around me, there's people just doing ordinary things, taking selfies, having a tour. But behind all that is a building that's designed for something much darker. So here's the thing. I came here on a school trip about 15 years ago, and one bit really stuck in my head, and it's this bell. Pretty a visceral, intense thing, actually, because on it, there is a swastika, which you just don't see in modern Germany anymore for very good reason. Literally banned because of the past to display that symbol in public. Yeah, this is the one swastika in Berlin, basically, as a symbol of the history, to show what has happened here and to sort of commemorate it and remember it. And lots of countries really don't do that. It's still pretty shocking to see this bell with 1936 on it, with that sinister Nazi writing, and of course that swastika. See that horrible, sinister Nazi eagle behind me? I actually just saw a few people looking at this, and one went kind of, oh my God, when they saw the swastika, because it's a symbol that everyone knows, but you rarely see it in a sort of public context like this. Yeah, what do you do with a stadium like this? Because it's not neutral. Everyone knows that. It's Nazi architecture. It was built by the Nazi regime for Nazi propaganda purposes, and there aren't really many examples like that in modern Germany. And you can't pretend that history doesn't exist. You can't erase it. And yeah, I guess the sort of present inherits the past, and it builds on it, and the Germans have made new memories now of hosting that World Cup, of hosting so many German Cup finals. And yeah, I think it's overall pretty impressive what has happened in Germany since World War II, since the fall of the Berlin Wall in '89. Berlin's a pretty amazing place that has seen some absolutely awful things in the not too distant past. So yeah, Berlin moved on, but this stadium kind of didn't, kind of looks the same. And I think that's really interesting. It doesn't mean Berlin is trapped in the past. Far from it, far less so than a lot of places, I'd say. It does mean the past has kind of left the physical structures behind, and then I guess the present has decided what to do with them. Same building, completely different world, but lots of people would have been alive for both of those. Yeah, I've been to a lot of stadiums, and this one kind of feels different to any other one I've been to. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe and all that. It really does help. And also, I'm really traveling all around the world at the moment, making videos and telling stories like this one. So if there's a stadium in your country that tells an interesting story, please do tell me. I might come and visit and ask you for tips. Bye.